And this is exactly what happened to Barsisa, the priest. He kept on slowly following Shaitan's trap. Shaitan asked him to open the door. She opened the door. Why don't you go inside and sit with her and have a meal with her and let the door open so that people can see you from outside. Now, slowly he said, close the door, because if the people saw you sitting with her, they might think that there's something wrong between you two. And once the door closed, zina took place. The priest, the worshipper, the man of God, he fell into adultery, he fell into fornication and zina. And the lady became pregnant, and slowly she delivered her baby. And after that, the priest now was worried about his reputation. He's known to be a worshipper. He's known to be a religious guide for the entire community. So Shaitan told him, now, if they find out, you're dead. If they find out, you're doomed. So he killed the lady, and he killed her child, and he dug a grave in her house, under her bed, and he buried her and her son. And when the brothers returned from the war, he told them that your sister became ill and she suffered from a disease. And I tried my best to help her, but she passed away. And I buried her somewhere. And he forged a grave. Look how Shaitan dragged this man from being a very religious person to a zani, to a person who commit fornication, one of the gravest sins that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about. And a killer, not only of her, but also of a little infant. And he forged, he lied, and he deceived the brothers. And at the end, subhanAllah, the brothers didn't have any reason to doubt the man. And they surrendered to the qadr of Allah, and then they let go. And one day, the three of them, one night they dreamt, they saw a vision that their sister and her baby were killed and buried under this bed. And all of them, they woke up terrified one night, and they related the dream to each other. So it becomes for them something very compelling, that probably this is the truth. So they dug under the bed, and to their astonishment, they found the body of their sister and the child. And as a result, the man was exposed. The priest, Barsisa, was exposed. Look into the story, read it again and again to understand the psyche of human beings. It never changes. We have the same needs. If I put a food in front of you and a drink, and I ask you not to eat for the next 24 hours, and I left you in the room alone, in a few hours time you will start eating, because that's your desire. Similarly, if I left a man in your room, sister, if I left a sister in your room, my brothers, and I locked the doors and I left, and I ask you never touch each other because it's haram, in no long time, in a few days, in a few weeks, zina will take place. And that's why it is important to be vigilant. If there is any necessary meeting, someone else must be around you to monitor any of these interactions so that you can avoid one of the major sins in Islam. The story of Barsisa did not finish. They put him to trials, and they decided because he had killed a soul innocently, he must also be put to death. And so they judged him, and the verdict was to execute him. And on that day of execution, Shaitan again shows up, because Shaitan is after your damnation. Shaitan is after your doom. Shaitan wanted to see you in hellfire forever, not just in hellfire for a while. He wanted you to see you completely destroyed. Completely destroyed. So Shaitan told him, I got you into this trouble, and I'm the only one who can get you out of it. So prostrate before me. Shirk now. Shirk. So zina and then murder, and now he's asking him to commit what? The gravest sin, the unforgivable sin, shirk, to associate partners with him. And he prostrated before Shaitan, and as he prostrated in shirk, to Shaitan, to save his life, as Shaitan falsely promised, they chopped off his head and he died as a mushrik. This is the end story of a man who was known to be a man of God. So number one, we have to avoid khulwa at all cost. Whatever the reason may be, you have to absolutely be careful. Number two, we have to practice something that many people always complain about, and that is lowering the gaze. So in order to make your relationship halal with the opposite gender, You have to always lower the gaze. Now, lower the gaze is misunderstood. Lowering the gaze doesn't necessarily mean that you walk down the streets looking up in the sky, because girls are up and down, left and right, everywhere, and boys also wearing this, wearing that, are everywhere. Doesn't mean this way. It means that when you walk, try to just focus on your direction. You're not walking down the streets to entertain yourself by looking at the people and looking at the billboards, and you're going somewhere and you know exactly where you're going, so focus on that. But in case something came across and you looked at something that provoked you sexually, then immediately lower the gaze. But if you stared longer than usual, then this long stare that the Prophet ﷺ said, it's an arrow from the arrows of shaitan. Remember shaitan? Remember Barsisa? So remember, shaitan is after your damnation, complete one. And one of the worst part is the sexual tension, that desire. So be careful. So lowering the gaze immediately curbs the desire. It's difficult. I'm not saying it's easy. It's easier said than done. But is it impossible? La wallahi, no. By Allah, it is doable. But you need to practice.